Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Islam in Life with me, Reza Ghazim. What is the role of politics in Islam? How important is it for Muslims to be actively involved in politics? What type of opportunities exist in the political arena for Muslims in the West? Is it even desirable to be seeking political office? And what is this obsession with seeking political positions? Can people not engage without seeking political positions?
Separation of the church, religion, and state, politics, was once a compelling argument in Western society. But recent challenges posed by both religions, or at least the interpretations of it, and global politics has made it very clear that this type of separation is not just unrealistic, but undesirable too. For Muslims, Islam is a code of life, and every aspect of life is influenced and guided by the religion. It is therefore just not possible to separate politics from other aspects of life. Having said that, are Muslims positively engaged in the political systems, especially in the West? What clout do they hold in influencing governments and decision-makers? What lesson can Muslims draw from the Holy Prophet in this matter? How can young Muslims be challenged to speak political knowledge aided with Islamic thoughts for proper political action? How important is it to understand the political environment, social issues, and the history of the countries that Muslims live in? What is the political responsibility of Muslims in the West, and indeed of Muslims when it comes to political actions in major Muslim countries? What opportunities and obstacles exist for such political involvement?
We're honored to be joined by our esteemed guest, Professor Tariq Ramadan, to discuss all of these issues. Welcome to the program, Professor.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam. Within the Quranic context, what is the talk in terms of political involvement and politics and so on in general?
First, I would say we have to define politics, because politics is not only talking about power and the state, and this is very often the way we are reducing. So if we come to this, if in your mind, in your question, there was this relationship between the Islamic message or the stories that we have in the Quran with power, we have it everywhere. We have it with the first messengers, we have it with Ibrahim alayhi salam, he's talking to Nimrod and he's challenging. We have it with Nuh, we have it with Sulaiman, we have it with Bilqis, a woman who was leading the country. We have it with Yusuf alayhi salam, Joseph, when he was dealing with the power in Egypt, and we have it everywhere. This is something which is part. And then, of course, we have it with the Prophet, peace be upon him, facing power and facing sometimes the despots, and sometimes, as for example with Pharaoh, with Moses, Musa alayhi salam, and talking to Pharaoh, who is the example, the symbol of dictatorship and of arrogance on earth. So we have this on the one side, and then we also have many stories where the meaning of politics is a wider meaning when it comes to social issues, when it comes to, interpersonal interaction between the people. And we also have to deal with this as politics. We should not reduce politics to my relationship to power. It has to do with governance. It has to do even with politics within the family. It has to do with politics within the society. And unfortunately, our perception is to reduce this to power, domination, and individuals or society.
So, I mean, you've kind of talked a little bit about it, and I want to be perhaps a little bit more specific in terms of the role of politics within Islam and how the Muslim interaction with it has been in the past, or what, in terms of examples and so on, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that what is important, and this was also in the clip, that the Islamic ethics is about everything. So there is not a world of politics, void or far from any ethical concern, as we have it in The Prince of Machiavel. And in politics, there is no morality. You do what should be done for the sake of the public, or the interest of power, or the interest of the society. That's not possible from an Islamic perspective, and in fact, it's not possible from all the spiritual, traditions. There should be ethics in politics. And then what we have in the Quran, and what we have through our history, is always challenging or assessing power through the ethical reference. Is the powerful serving the powerless? Is the leader serving and guiding the followers into something which is a more dignified life, a more just society, a more educated environment? This is what we find everywhere in the Quran. So all the stories are talking always about the same. People who end up being arrogant with power, while the only way to deal with power when you serve God is to use your power to serve the people. So there is a moral shared teaching here that we have among all our religious traditions. Add to this that from an Islamic perspective, you always have to connect governance with the ethical reference. You can't have something which is governance without ethic reference.
In some ways, the next question is complex, depending on how you, in terms of the way that you've defined politics, not just in terms of the relation of power to the individual and so on, but also the micro-politics that goes on in perhaps every household, if you like. Exactly. And within that context, how would you define the necessity of Muslims to be actively involved in politics? And I guess there my question is more referring to the power thing. But again, this could, I suppose, in a sense, apply to the governance of any scenario or situation.
Yeah, and the starting point would be, if you are a human being, you have to deal with politics. Anyone who is saying, I am apolitical, is doing politics in a way. By refusing to be involved, it's an answer to politics at all the level, or within all the different fields, within your family, within your society, or facing power. From an Islamic perspective, we have a role to play and we have a mission. We need to face power. We need to make it clear to the powerful that they are here to serve the people. So there is something here which is, it's a requirement to be involved in politics and to be clear on, if you want the individuals to be free, you have to act and you have to be involved against any structure, any institution, any power which is going to try to control them and to monitor what they are doing. So the very essence of the liberating process of saying La ilaha illallah, there is only one God. When you say La ilaha illallah, it's a question of power. It's a statement about power. He has the only power. So anyone now who is going to come in with my society and trying to use his or her power against the power of the one, which is about the freedom, the people's freedom, the society's justice. This is why we have to struggle. So the very meaning of our religion in political terms is to be involved and to be committed to reform the political structure into something which is serving the people. So referring to the Prophet, peace be upon him, that's something which was essential. You know, there is one story which is very, very important. When he was talking to the powerful in his community, because they were attacking the Muslims and he was scared about the future of his community. He was talking to the rich. And then a blind man came and asked him about the Quran and asked him a spiritual question. He wanted knowledge. He was protecting the community through the powerful. And then he neglected him. And Allah in the Quran saying, Abasa wa tawalla. He just shun away. He neglected the guy, meaning what? Be careful. Don't think that you are going to protect your community through the powerful. You protect your community through justice, through serving the people, and among them the poor who apparently had no power. That's a very powerful political statement. It's just the starting point of who are you dealing with? Who are you serving? The powerful or your principles?
And what type of, I suppose again, definitely moving to the arena of the social and political, I guess, what type of political opportunities exist for Muslims in the field or in the political arena?
So the first thing is, because what is important is to start with our individual rights. The fact that, you know, the starting point with your own justice with yourself. Because what is said by Adam and Hawa from the beginning, Allahumma zalamna anfusana, we have been unjust with our own selves. So to be just with yourself means that you have to get the basic needs that you have. Among the basic needs in political terms, this is a political statement which is very strong and very powerful in our days. I need to have the necessary to eat, to drink, and to have a house and to be protected. And an education. This is the starting point of, these are my rights as a human being. This is the first. And the second here, it's I should have the right to express myself, to express my opinions. So this is why you have it in the Quran. Amruhum shura bainahum. They deal with their affairs through consultation, deliberation, meaning you have the right to speak out, to have to express yourself. So freedom, it's something which is the dignity of human being, but the necessity of the social setting. So this is where we need also to come to this understanding that the political arena starts with this, and then the fact that you can express, and then something which is essential in Islam. The leader is chosen by the people who are the followers. He's not imposing himself. So this is also something which is very important, is that the only one that we are following is God, and God is telling us, you have to decide on earth, in this life, who you are going to follow, and you have to decide.
Some other questions to follow, but we do like to keep the show as interactive as possible and really value your opinion. Here is what you sent us this week.
This week we asked, how should Muslims be involved in politics? Abbas from Norway said, Muslims should be involved in every aspect of politics because politics influence all aspects of our lives. And we can only be free to practice our religion if we are involved in the political process. Fatima from UK said, I think Muslims should be involved at the highest levels of politics. We must vie for top political positions so that we can challenge the negative image and perception of Muslims in the world. And Michael from Canada said, I believe Muslims should be actively involved in everyday aspects of politics, just as non-Muslims are. Political involvement affects all citizens equally, and religion should not be a factor there.
I think they should get involved in politics because Islam doesn't forbid these sort of things. Islam encourages people to actually take part in the local community, help out, regardless of religion, race or anything like that. So it's actually a part of Islam, so why not?
If you know what you want and what you're talking about, then only. But if you're just going to blabber and say whatever you feel, then of course you're going to make problems for yourself. So of course, I mean, it depends on the individual.
They have to do their best to implement the rules that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, has left with us, and to do the best to serve the Creator, Allah or God.
Obviously, the Islam world, you can't compromise obviously your Islamic belief, but you won't. But you can manage both.
The first thing we have to keep in mind before involving in politics is that we learn the fundamental political systems of Rasulullah Muhammad. And one of the lessons we get from him is to pursue the public interest rather than self-interest.
That's all the comments we have for this week. If you'd like to have your views featured in the show, be sure to follow us on Facebook or join us on Twitter. Now you can send your own videos with your comments and even your questions to islamandlife@presstv.com.
It was interesting, some of the things that were being said in the clip about power and gaining the highest political office, and I was reminded of the prophetic kind of example when he was offered women, wealth, power, and he said, you know, just come in and join us. And many people would have potentially advised, come on, you know, once you've got that power, you can perhaps influence in a way that you wouldn't be able to influence in the way that you're going around and so on. And his response was quite emphatic, and he said something on the lines of that if you put the sun in my right hand, the moon in my left hand, I will not move one iota from my position. And he rejected their offer of position. Why is there this obsession with getting the highest political office and so on that was being talked about?
Because of what we were saying before, our very narrow understanding of what politics is all about. It's power, and we think that with power we can do whatever we want. Politics is wider than this, and when the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, no, whatever you give me, this is your power, this is worldly concern. I'm here with a mission, I'm here with a message. And what is the message about? The message is politics starts with the poor. Politics starts with education. Politics starts with liberation. We are going to liberate these people. And what I'm going to do with my people is what Moses did with his people before, liberating them from the arrogant dictator. So it's an answer to, you want to buy me with your power. I'm going to educate, to liberate the people from your power. So there is power beyond your power. And this power is the power of heart, is the power of faith, is the power of justice, is the power of dignity. And this is why today in Western countries, for example, but not only, I would say everywhere around the world, this obsession with, you know, we have to be involved in political parties, we need to try to be president, that's fine. But if the price for this is to lose your principles, there is no, you know, and so many, we are very proud of them being elected, and then you look at what they are saying. You listen and say, where are we? What is kept in the whole process? In order to be elected, you sold everything. You are not even able to say anything that you believe in, just to be accepted by the people, and especially in the West. That not to be elected, this is to be lost. You are an elected, lost individual. What we need now is something else. I prefer not to be elected if, with my principles, I can teach, I can work, and come with something which is a grassroots power, which is politics. It's a social power, which is important, but politics start within the society at the social level. I think that too many Muslims, that's not, by the way, it's not only Muslims, is politics of our time. It's just we are very, very you know, obsessed and sometimes full of illusion about presidents and high, you know, profile. Even these people, they don't have power. Behind them, you can find transnational corporations. They are dealing. They are commanding. So we like, you know, images. What we need is substance.
But the problem is that it's very high-fluting ideas, and people will say to you, well, that's all well and good, but when I've got to get something done, I need that politician to actually to get something done for me, and so on. And so yes, he might not get everything for me, but he will maybe get something that might be useful.
Yes, you are right, and I can understand this discourse by saying it's not black and white. It's what we are talking about here is this obsession that we are putting everything there, not understanding that we need to understand politics in a broader way. That it's about education, it's about social movement, it's about, you know, what was said in the West of the people, you know, the American resistance movement saying, I'm somebody. I'm somebody. This is the first political statement. I'm somebody. Look at me. I'm a black man. I'm somebody. I'm going to free myself. So this is the starting point. We need to get it. It doesn't mean that we should not be involved in politics. It's not either or. But the way we deal with politics and the way we deal with politicians or with the media or with the economic sector should not be at the price of the other. political dynamics that we need to promote and we need to be involved in. And I would say that our fellow citizens should understand this, in which way they have to be involved. There should be politics where nobody sees it as politics.
Now, within that context, you're talking about the way, you said earlier about liberating the people. You know, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, actually talked about liberating them from the power, as it were. How do you create that concept within Muslim communities that they don't go after this, becoming an MP, becoming this, becoming that, but actually creating that, I've got to free myself and, have something. How do you do that?
Yeah, it's two things. I would say it's a very deep spiritual education. And then it's also a political education. We need a political education. If we want to deal with politics, you have to be educated. It's like arts. Many people, they just look at a painting, they don't understand. You have to be educated. It's a question of education. When it comes to the spiritual education is what is your relationship with your own self? Your relationship with your own self is, be careful, the self could be commanding. There is power in I, so you have to liberate yourself. So this struggle with your own self, it's a liberation process. Allahumma insurna ala anfusina. God help us to win against our own self, because our self could be arrogant. So this power of the self, the ego, this is what you understand. So you have to do exactly the same within your society is the way you are struggling. So the spiritual teaching of the relationship that you have with the powerful ego is what you need to get within the society. This is a spiritual teaching. On the other side, what we were saying is, yes, we have to deal with within the society with a political education to understand how it works. So where are the the areas of power within the society, how it works, and not to be obsessed with the power that is shown or that is visible. Be careful with the power behind power. Be careful with the structure of power. Be careful with, the cultural power. The cultural capital has power in itself. So you cannot get anything in the United States, for example, if you don't understand whiteness and blackness as structure of power. You cannot get anything in the world if you don't understand colonialism and resistance to colonialism. And it's not only political colonialism, it's economic colonialism and cultural imperialism. These are things that you need to get. You need to be equipped. You just don't go like this. The most dangerous politicians are the superficial politicians, and they think that they are dealing with the visible and they don't get. So we need both. And this is where within our communities we need to have people who are deep as to their faith but quite smart when it comes to politics. It's a dirty game, politics. So in order to remain quite white in a moral sense, quite clean in an ethical way, you have to have a strong spiritual education. If not, you are lost and you do exactly the same. And the most dangerous even is to see people doing exactly the same as the others, say, but you know what, I'm a Muslim. Yeah, but you can be a corrupt Muslim in the way you deal with politics, because politics could corrupt people, whoever they are.
On that point, if someone who is a Muslim is saying something and doing something for the community, and they're corrupt, how would you balance that in terms of how damaging that would be for a community compared to someone who was perhaps coming from another background, religious or other or whatever, and doing the same thing, in terms of the community's understanding of systems and trying to grow in a new place?
It's very damaging, of course, if we have somebody calling himself or herself a Muslim and he or she is corrupt and working or doing exactly the dirty game and the dirty, having the same dirty behavior that we can find in the political arena. And this has an impact on the community. So this is why we should be very, very clear that at the end, somebody that we are supporting, we're not supporting him or her only because he or she is a Muslim. We are supporting principles. So I'm with you as long as you are principled. you will find me against you, whoever you are, Muslim or not, if you are not principled. But if you are not a Muslim, if you are somebody from other faith, a Christian, a Jew, or whoever you are, and you are principled, I'm on your side by the very understanding of what politics mean, promoting what is right and good.
Very interesting. There is no doubt that political engagement is a necessary part of the Islamic faith, but the psyche of large swathes of the Muslim communities in the West suggests that this can only be effectively done through involvement in political parties before being elected into legislative bodies. Yet, this defies the prophetic example of rejecting political position within oppressive power structures in favor of building a culture of justice, which people are automatically attracted to, and political power grows organically out of that. That's all the time we have today. I would like to thank Professor Tariq Ramadan for joining us, and I thank you all for watching. Until next time, goodbye.